Perfectionism is slowly killing your dreams, Capricorn. That voice inside your head demanding flawlessness might be the very anchor dragging you down while you believe it's your sail. The cosmic truth is hard but necessary. Your meticulous nature has crossed that delicate line from strength to weakness. Welcome to the revelation that could finally unlock everything you've been working so relentlessly toward. The stars have aligned today to deliver a critical message specifically for the ambitious mountain goats of the Zodiac. As Saturn's children, you Capricorns possess an unmatched capacity for discipline and perseverance. Your ability to climb the steepest mountains of life, one careful step after another, is truly a gift from the cosmos. But what if I told you that your greatest strength has transformed into your most insidious obstacle? Every Capricorn recognizes that feeling, the hesitation before sharing your work because it's not quite ready yet. That presentation you've revised 17 times, that business proposal you've been perfecting for months, that creative project sitting in drafts because you're waiting for that elusive moment when it finally feels complete. The universe sees you struggling with this internal battle, and today's message speaks directly to that struggle. Look around at the successful people you admire. Did they achieve greatness by waiting until everything was flawless? Behind every empire, every masterpiece, every breakthrough lies an uncomfortable truth. Imperfect action trumps perfect inaction every single time. While you've been polishing that same project for weeks, others with half your talent but twice your courage have launched 3 imperfect versions and are already seeing returns. This isn't about lowering your standards, Capricorn. Your exacting nature is part of your cosmic DNA, written in the stars at your birth. This is about recognizing when those high standards become impossible standards, when they transform from helpful guidelines into impenetrable barriers between you and your destiny. Your perfectionism often manifests as an elaborate protection mechanism. If you never finish, you never fail. If you never launch, you never face criticism. If you never truly put yourself out there, you maintain the comforting illusion of unlimited potential rather than confronting the messy reality of actual results. But this false comfort comes at an enormous price, the sacrifice of your true potential on the altar of imagined flawlessness. The most successful Capricorns throughout history, from Benjamin Franklin to Michelle Obama, from Howard Schultz to Jeff Bezos, all share one common trait. They understood that excellence is a practice, not a destination. They embraced the iterative nature of success, where each imperfect step builds upon the last. Take a moment now to consider what perfectionism has already cost you. Those opportunities missed because you weren't ready. Those connections never made because your proposal wasn't polished enough. The revenue never generated, the audience never built, the impact never made, all sacrificed to the insatiable god of perfectionism that can never, by definition, be satisfied. Before we dive deeper into exactly how this perfectionist tendency is sabotaging your success across 12 critical dimensions, I invite you to make a commitment to yourself. This video isn't meant to be passively consumed and forgotten. The stars have guided you here for a reason. Take a moment to hit that subscribe button and give this video a like, not for the algorithm, but as a small symbolic action representing your commitment to breaking free from perfectionism's grip. As we explore these 12 perfectionist traps together, you'll recognize patterns that have been holding you back for years. You'll see with crystal clarity how your cautious, methodical Capricorn nature has been hijacked by fear disguising itself as high standards. And most importantly, you'll discover practical cosmic wisdom to harness your natural strengths without letting them become limitations. Let's begin by examining the first 3 critical ways your perfectionism is actively destroying your success right now, starting with perhaps the most costly one of all. The first reason, your relentless pursuit of flawlessness is delaying project launches that could already be generating returns. The clock ticks mercilessly as you scrutinize your project for the 20th time, Capricorn. That business plan sits on your desktop, revised to death but still unpublished. That website, redesigned countless times but never launched. That application, filled out meticulously but never submitted. With each passing day, with each unnecessary revision, the opportunity cost compounds silently but devastatingly. Consider this astronomical truth. In the time it takes you to perfect a single project, 3 competitors with half your talent but twice your courage have launched their imperfect versions and are already collecting valuable customer feedback, generating revenue, and building momentum in the market. They're learning from real-world interactions while you're still theorizing in isolation. This isn't abstract wisdom, Capricorn. The cosmos has witnessed this pattern repeated throughout your life. Remember that course you wanted to create? That side business you planned to launch last year? That investment opportunity you researched extensively but never acted on? Each represents not just a missed opportunity, but actual wealth, experience, and growth that could have been yours. Saturn, your ruling planet, teaches difficult lessons through time and restriction. But even Saturn does not demand perfection, only honest effort and growth. When your perfectionism delays action indefinitely, you're not honoring Saturn's lessons, but distorting them into paralysis. What if you shifted your thinking from perfect launch to minimum viable product? What if you embraced the Capricorn mountain goat's natural ability to make incremental progress, testing your footing on each rocky outcrop before proceeding? A 70% perfect project in the market today creates infinitely more value than a 99% perfect project forever trapped in your drafts folder. The second reason, the time spent polishing details could be invested in starting new ventures. Every hour spent obsessively refining already functional work represents an hour not spent exploring new territories ripe with potential. This cosmic mathematics works against you, Capricorn, in ways you've failed to calculate. Your capacity for detailed work is truly impressive. It's part of your celestial birthright. But even you, resilient mountain goat, have limited time in each day. When you dedicate 3 additional hours to marginally improving something that was already effective, you've sacrificed 3 hours that could have been invested in an entirely new revenue stream, relationship, or skill acquisition. The most successful Capricorns understand opportunity cost intimately. They recognize when additional refinement yields diminishing returns and redirect their legendary work ethic toward fresh endeavors with higher potential payoffs. They save their meticulous nature for truly critical details rather than spreading it thin across every aspect of every project. Think of your energy as valuable investment capital. Would any wise investor concentrate all their resources into marginally improving a single performing asset when they could be diversifying into multiple promising ventures? Yet this is precisely what perfectionism tricks you into doing day after day, year after year. Your Capricorn determination becomes a double-edged sword when misdirected. The very persistence that can move mountains becomes the stubborn refusal to move on from tasks that have long since passed the point of meaningful improvement. Each minute spent in this perfectionist loop compounds into hours, days, and eventually years of lost potential. What could you have started today if you weren't still polishing yesterday's work? What empire might you have begun building if you redirected even half the energy spent on perfectionist revisions? The stars have aligned to help you reclaim this squandered potential, but first, you must recognize the pattern. The third reason, your fear of criticism keeps brilliant ideas locked in drafts rather than out in the world where they can thrive. Behind the perfectionist's meticulous revisions lies a profound truth the cosmos recognizes in you, Capricorn. You're not actually pursuing excellence. You're avoiding judgment. The universe has observed how your fear of criticism has imprisoned your most brilliant ideas in eternal drafts, never to see the light of day. This fear runs deeper than most Capricorns are willing to admit. As an earth sign ruled by strict Saturn, you crave validation and recognition for your efforts. The thought of putting something imperfect into the world, only to have others point out its flaws, triggers an almost primal anxiety in your Capricorn soul. But consider the cosmic irony. In protecting your work from criticism, you ensure it receives no feedback at all, neither criticism nor praise, neither challenge nor acceptance. The very recognition you deeply desire becomes impossible when your creations remain hidden from the world's eyes. The most innovative ideas are rarely perfect upon conception. They require exposure to outside perspectives, challenging questions, and even constructive criticism to evolve from promising concepts into world-changing realities. When you hoard your ideas in the name of perfectionism, you deny them the very oxygen they need to grow. Think of criticism not as the judgment you fear, but as free consulting you're being offered. Each critique represents someone who cared enough to engage with your work and offer their perspective. This engagement, even when critical, is precisely what transforms good ideas into great ones. Your Capricorn predecessors who achieved true greatness didn't do so by hiding their work until it was flawless. They understood that creation is inherently iterative. Thomas Edison's first light bulb, Henry Ford's first automobile, Oprah Winfrey's first broadcast, all were imperfect, all received criticism, and all paved the way for the refined versions that changed the world. What brilliance might you have already shared with the universe, if not for this fear disguised as perfectionism? What impact might your ideas have already made if you'd released them from the prison of your drafts folder? The stars aligned today to ask you this profound question. What might happen if, just once, you shared something before you felt it was absolutely perfect? The mountain goat doesn't reach the summit by planning the perfect route from the base. It makes progress by testing each step, adapting to the terrain, occasionally slipping but always regaining footing. Your Capricorn spirit knows this instinctively, yet perfectionism has disconnected you from this natural wisdom. As we transition into our next 3 critical ways perfectionism is sabotaging your success, remember that your perfectionist tendencies didn't develop overnight, and neither will changing them. But recognition is the first step toward transformation. The cosmos has infinite patience for your growth, Capricorn. The question is, are you ready to take imperfect action toward your perfect potential? The 4th reason, those impossible standards you set for yourself are creating unnecessary stress, diminishing your legendary endurance. The cosmos has blessed Capricorn with extraordinary resilience. You possess a natural endurance that allows you to outlast challenges that would break other signs. Yet beneath the composed exterior you present to the world, perfectionism exacts a devastating toll on your internal landscape. The impossible standards you've established aren't motivating you. They're draining you. Every project becomes a potential minefield of failure when measured against unattainable ideals. The presentation that needs to be flawless, the home that must be immaculate before guests arrive, the career trajectory that must follow a precise upward path. With each self-imposed impossible standard, your nervous system absorbs another shock of cortisol, another burst of stress that erodes your legendary endurance. The most successful Capricorns understand a subtle truth. Endurance isn't about never tiring, it's about sustainable progress. They recognize that perfectionism creates a state of perpetual emergency in the body and mind. The constant vigilance, the unending anxiety about potential flaws, the relentless self-criticism, these don't strengthen you. They deplete you at a cellular level. Consider how your perfectionism manifests physically. The tension headaches after scrutinizing details for hours. The disrupted sleep as your mind replays scenarios of potential failure. The digestive issues that flare during high-pressure deadlines. These aren't separate from your perfectionism. They're direct consequences of it. Your body is desperately trying to communicate what your ambitious mind refuses to acknowledge. These standards are unsustainable. Saturn, your ruling planet, governs limitations and boundaries. It asks you to recognize the finite nature of your physical resources. When you ignore these boundaries in pursuit of perfectionism, you aren't displaying admirable determination. You're fighting against the wisdom Saturn has encoded into your very being. The universe doesn't reward this battle. It responds with exhaustion, burnout, and diminished capacity. What strength might you reclaim if you redirected even half the energy spent on perfectionism toward genuine progress? What mountains could you climb with the endurance you'd recover? The stars reveal a profound truth today. Your perfectionism isn't a path to excellence. It's a tax on your greatest natural resource. The 5th reason, by refusing to delegate imperfectly, you're limiting your empire's growth potential. The lone mountain goat may reach impressive heights, but it will never build an empire. Yet your perfectionism has convinced you that solo climbing is the only reliable path, Capricorn. The cosmic mathematics is simple and devastating. Your refusal to delegate effectively places a hard ceiling on your potential accomplishments. Behind this reluctance lies a painful truth. You don't trust others to meet your standards. Each delegation becomes an exercise in frustration as you hover, micromanage, and eventually reclaim the task with a resigned, "I'll just do it myself." This cycle is repeated throughout your career, your relationships, and your personal projects. Each reclamation reinforces your belief that perfectionism is necessary, when in reality, it's what's limiting your expansion. History's most successful Capricorns, from Benjamin Franklin to Jeff Bezos, understood that true achievement requires leverage. They recognized their own perfectionist tendencies and developed systems to overcome them. They didn't lower their standards. They created structures where multiple talented people could contribute without requiring constant oversight. Consider how your perfectionism manifests in team environments. Do you find yourself redoing others' work? Do you provide exhaustive instructions that remove all creativity and ownership from the task? Do you avoid delegation entirely for critical projects? Each of these patterns reveals not high standards, but a fundamental misunderstanding of leadership. Effective delegation isn't about finding people who work exactly as you do. It's about finding talented individuals whose unique approaches complement yours. It's about recognizing that sometimes an approach different from yours might yield results you couldn't have achieved on your own. This requires a profound shift in perspective that challenges your perfectionist core. The stars have aligned to deliver this message because the universe sees your untapped potential. The empire you're capable of building extends far beyond what your two hands can create, no matter how skilled or tireless they may be. But realizing this potential requires you to embrace the messy, imperfect nature of collaboration. What might you accomplish if you redirected your perfectionism away from controlling every detail and toward selecting the right people, communicating clear outcomes, and trusting the process? What innovations might emerge if you allowed others the space to contribute their perspectives without the shadow of your perfectionism looming over them? The sixth reason: your reluctance to share unfinished work prevents valuable feedback that could accelerate your progress. The universe operates through cycles of feedback and adaptation. Yet your perfectionism has convinced you that work should emerge fully formed before exposure to outside perspectives. This cosmic misalignment creates perhaps the most painful irony of your perfectionist tendencies. In refusing to share unfinished work, you ensure your progress remains unnecessarily slow and isolated. The most innovative creators across history understood what perfectionism has hidden from you. Early feedback accelerates development exponentially. When you withhold your work until it's perfect, you miss countless opportunities for course correction, unexpected insights, and collaborative improvement that could have saved you weeks or months of solitary effort. This reluctance manifests in predictable patterns throughout your life. The business plan: you refuse to show investors until every projection is meticulously calculated. The creative project: you hide from potential collaborators until it's ready. The idea: you keep to yourself because it's not fully developed yet. Each represents not just missed feedback, but dramatically slower progress toward your ultimate goals. Consider how this pattern limits your growth as a Capricorn. Your earth sign, nature, craves tangible results and measurable progress. Yet perfectionism creates a paradoxical situation where your refusal to share incomplete work actually delays the concrete outcomes you desire. The very quality you believe demonstrates your professionalism. Only sharing polished work actually undermines your effectiveness. The most successful individuals in any field understand the multiplier effect of early feedback. They recognize that exposing imperfect work to trusted perspectives creates an exponential acceleration in development. What might take months to discover in isolation becomes apparent in minutes when viewed through fresh eyes. This isn't about carelessly sharing unfinished work with everyone. It's about strategically selecting individuals whose perspectives can enhance your progress. It's about recognizing that your perfectionism has convinced you that vulnerability equals weakness, when in reality, calculated vulnerability is a powerful tool for accelerated growth. Imagine releasing a prototype of your idea to a small group of trusted advisors and receiving insights that reshape your approach entirely, saving months of development in the wrong direction. Envision sharing your incomplete business strategy with a mentor who immediately identifies a critical opportunity you'd overlooked. Picture allowing a colleague to review your rough draft and finding their questions illuminate aspects you hadn't considered. The stars have aligned today to challenge your perfectionist assumption that work must be complete before it can be shared. This cosmic wisdom invites you to recognize that the path to excellence isn't a solitary journey toward perfection, but a collaborative evolution through strategic vulnerability. What breakthroughs await when you begin sharing your work earlier in the process? What accelerated progress might you experience when you embrace feedback as a tool rather than a threat? The universe sees your potential for growth when you release the perfectionist belief that has kept your best ideas isolated and your progress unnecessarily slow. As we prepare to explore the next critical ways perfectionism undermines your success, remember that these patterns weren't formed overnight. The perfectionist tendencies that have limited your progress are deeply intertwined with your Capricorn strengths. The cosmic wisdom offered today isn't about abandoning your high standards, but about redirecting them toward genuine excellence rather than the illusion of perfection. The seventh reason, your excessive planning phase has evolved into a sophisticated form of procrastination in disguise. Beneath the surface of your meticulous planning lies a cosmic truth you've been avoiding, Capricorn. What began as prudent preparation has transformed into an elaborate avoidance mechanism. Your planning phase, once a strength, has become a comfortable hiding place where action is indefinitely postponed under the guise of thoroughness. The stars have observed this pattern throughout your journey, the business you've been researching for years without launching, the creative project perpetually stuck in the outlining phase, the life change continually delayed for more preparation. Each represents not methodical progress, but sophisticated procrastination wrapped in the respectable cloak of perfectionism. This transformation happens so subtly that even your discerning Capricorn mind has failed to recognize it. The initial planning, creating timelines, gathering resources, mapping contingencies, serves a legitimate purpose, but perfectionism gradually shifts the goalposts, convincing you that more research, more analysis, more preparation is always needed before action can begin. The universe reveals a painful truth today. Perfectionists often excel at planning precisely because it provides the illusion of progress without the risk of failure. Each additional hour of research, each revised timeline, each expanded contingency plan allows you to feel productive while actually remaining safely distant from execution, where real vulnerability begins. The most accomplished Capricorns throughout history understood the essential balance between preparation and action. They recognized planning not as an end in itself, but as a tool with diminishing returns. They developed an intuitive sense for when additional planning yields genuine insight versus when it merely postpones necessary action. Consider how this pattern has manifested throughout your professional life. Have you noticed how your planning phases consistently expand to fill whatever time is available? How each decision requires increasingly exhaustive analysis? How the threshold for sufficient preparation continuously recedes as you approach it? These are the hallmarks of planning transformed from strength to liability. The cosmic irony is that excessive planning often produces worse outcomes than prompt, imperfect action. While you're refining your strategy in isolation, market conditions change. While you're perfecting your approach, opportunities vanish. While you're analyzing every contingency, competitors who embraced imperfect action gain invaluable real-world experience that no amount of planning could provide. What might you have already accomplished if you'd recognized when planning had served its purpose and boldly stepped into execution? What experiences might you have gained? What growth might you have achieved if you'd embraced the messy reality of action over the controlled environment of endless preparation? The eighth reason, your need for perfect conditions means you're missing strategic opportunities that require quick, decisive action. The universe operates through windows of opportunity. that open briefly before closing again. Yet your perfectionism has convinced you that you should only act when conditions are ideal, when you have complete information, optimal timing, and minimal risk. This cosmic misalignment creates perhaps the most costly consequence of your perfectionist mindset, systematically missing opportunities that require decisive action amid uncertainty. This pattern reveals itself in predictable ways throughout your Capricorn journey. The investment you considered but didn't make because you needed more data. The relationship you didn't pursue because the timing wasn't quite right. The career opportunity you hesitated on while gathering more information, only to find it claimed by someone less qualified but more decisive. The stars have aligned today to illuminate a fundamental truth. Perfect conditions are an illusion. The most significant opportunities, those with potential to transform your trajectory, almost always arrive with incomplete information, inconvenient timing, and substantial uncertainty. Your perfectionism has trained you to interpret these natural characteristics of opportunity as warning signs rather than normal features of growth. Consider how this perfectionist pattern contradicts your Capricorn nature in a profound way. As an earth sign ruled by Saturn, you possess natural prudence and foresight, but these qualities were meant to help you navigate uncertainty, not avoid it entirely. The mountain goat doesn't wait for perfect weather to begin its climb. It assesses conditions, accounts for risks, and proceeds with caution, but without unnecessary delay. The most successful individuals in any field understand that timing often outweighs perfection. They've developed the ability to distinguish between conditions that are merely uncomfortable versus truly dangerous. They recognize when an opportunity's potential reward justifies prompt, imperfect action despite incomplete information. This isn't about reckless impulsivity. It's about developing a more sophisticated relationship with uncertainty. It's about recognizing that your perfectionism has narrowed your definition of acceptable conditions to a point where virtually no real-world opportunity can qualify. It's about recalibrating your risk assessment to align with the reality of how opportunities actually present themselves. Imagine how your trajectory might change if you shifted your perspective from requiring perfect conditions to identifying sufficient conditions. Picture the opportunities you might seize if you recognized that some advantages come precisely from acting, while others are still gathering more data. Envision the growth that awaits when you embrace calculated risk rather than holding out for illusory certainty. The stars have aligned today to challenge your perfectionist assumption that ideal conditions are a prerequisite for action. This cosmic wisdom invites you to recognize that opportunity rarely arrives in perfect packaging, and those who transform possibilities into realities are those willing to act decisively amid the messy, imperfect conditions that accompany every meaningful opportunity. The ninth reason, the constant self-criticism that accompanies your perfectionism is steadily undermining the confidence that should rightfully accompany your considerable skills. The universe has gifted you with extraordinary capabilities, Capricorn. Your natural discipline, analytical mind, and perseverance would normally generate well-deserved confidence, yet perfectionism has created a perpetual gap between your actual achievements and your impossible standards. A gap that feeds a relentless inner critic that diminishes your confidence with each accomplishment. This internal dialogue manifests in patterns you may recognize all too well. The promotion received but immediately diminished because anyone could have earned it. The project completed successfully but instantly scrutinized for minor flaws nobody else would notice. The skill mastered but still deemed insufficient because you haven't reached an arbitrary level of expertise. Each accomplishment, rather than building your confidence, becomes another opportunity for your perfectionist inner critic to find you lacking. The stars reveal a painful truth. This constant self-criticism doesn't motivate excellence as you've believed. Instead, it creates a psychological environment where you never feel truly qualified, capable, or accomplished, regardless of objective evidence to the contrary. This perpetual sense of inadequacy subtly influences how you present yourself, the opportunities you pursue, and the authority you're willing to claim. Consider how this pattern has affected your professional development. Have you hesitated to apply for positions because you felt you needed to meet 100% of the qualifications, while less perfectionistic colleagues applied with 70% and succeeded? Have you downplayed your expertise in meetings, qualifying your statements with unnecessary caveats? Have you declined leadership opportunities because you felt not quite ready, only to see them go to someone with less experience but more confidence? The most successful Capricorns throughout history understood that confidence isn't about feeling perfect. It's about accurately assessing your capabilities relative to the challenge at hand. They recognized their perfectionist tendencies and developed strategies to counter the inevitable self-criticism that threatened to undermine their natural authority. They learned to distinguish between helpful self-assessment and destructive self-criticism. This isn't about developing unwarranted confidence or ignoring areas for improvement. It's about recognizing that perfectionism has distorted your self-assessment to the point where you consistently underestimate your capabilities and overestimate your shortcomings. It's about recalibrating your internal dialogue to align with the objective reality of your considerable skills and accomplishments. What opportunities might open to you if you approach them with confidence, proportionate to your actual capabilities, rather than the diminished self-image perfectionism has created? What impact might you have if you expressed your expertise without the constant qualifiers and caveats your inner critic demands? What leadership roles might you claim if you recognized that your not quite ready still exceeds many others fully prepared? The cosmic wisdom offered today challenges your perfectionist assumption that confidence should only come after achieving impossibly high standards. This celestial insight invites you to recognize that true confidence doesn't stem from perfection, but from an accurate assessment of your substantial capabilities compared to the actual demands of the situation. As we prepare to explore our final 3 ways perfectionism undermines your success, remember that these patterns, though deeply ingrained, can be transformed. The perfectionist tendencies that have limited your confidence are not immutable cosmic forces, but learned responses that can be recalibrated with awareness and intention. The stars have aligned to help you recognize these patterns precisely because you're ready to begin shifting them toward more authentic expressions of your Capricorn potential. The 10th reason: your fear of making mistakes has significantly narrowed your willingness to experiment with innovative approaches. Innovation thrives in the fertile soil of experimentation, yet perfectionism has convinced you that mistakes are catastrophic rather than instructive. The cosmos observes a profound contradiction in your Capricorn nature. Your ambition drives you toward extraordinary achievement, while your perfectionism simultaneously restricts the very experimentation necessary to reach unprecedented heights. This fear manifests in predictable patterns throughout your journey, the proven method you cling to despite diminishing returns, the conventional approach you follow when intuition suggests an unconventional alternative, the safe territory you remain in when growth beckons from unexplored realms. Each represents not prudent caution, but perfectionism's suffocating grip on your innovative potential. The stars have aligned to illuminate a fundamental truth. Meaningful innovation requires a tolerance for missteps, detours, and outright failures. The most groundbreaking achievements throughout history emerge not from flawless execution of established methods, but from bold experimentation that inevitably included numerous mistakes, reframed as valuable data. Consider how this perfectionist aversion to error has limited your creative and professional evolution. Have promising ideas remained unexplored because implementation would require unfamiliar skills where early mistakes would be inevitable? Have you restricted yourself to domains where your existing expertise minimizes the risk of visible errors? Have potentially revolutionary approaches been abandoned at the first sign of difficulty because perfectionism labeled initial struggles as failure rather than necessary iteration? The most innovative Capricorns throughout history, from Benjamin Franklin to Elon Musk, understood that achievement and experimentation are inseparable companions. They recognized their perfectionist tendencies and developed frameworks to counteract the instinctive aversion to error. They cultivated environments where calculated risks and instructive mistakes were not just tolerated but actively valued, as essential components of meaningful progress. This doesn't require reckless abandonment of your methodical nature. It demands a more sophisticated relationship with mistakes, recognizing them not as evidence of inadequacy, but as inevitable and valuable steps toward mastery and innovation. It requires distinguishing between catastrophic errors, which prudence rightfully avoids, and instructive mistakes, which growth necessarily embraces. What innovations might you develop if you expanded your tolerance for imperfect iterations? What mastery might you achieve if you viewed early mistakes not as failures to be avoided, but as necessary steps toward expertise? What contributions might you make if you allowed yourself to explore territories where perfectionism cannot guarantee flawless performance? The cosmic wisdom offered today challenges your perfectionist equation of mistakes with failure. This celestial insight invites you to recognize that your fear of error hasn't protected your excellence. It has constrained your growth, limited your mastery, and diminished your potential for true innovation. The 11th reason: your all-or-nothing mentality prevents you from celebrating meaningful progress along your journey. The universe unfolds through gradual evolution, yet perfectionism has imposed a binary framework on your Capricorn mind, either total success or complete failure. This cosmic misalignment creates perhaps the most emotionally costly aspect of your perfectionist tendencies: the inability to recognize, appreciate, and celebrate meaningful progress that falls short of your ultimate vision. This all-or-nothing mentality manifests in patterns you may recognize with uncomfortable clarity. The fitness regimen abandoned because you missed a single session. The creative project discarded because it didn't immediately match your mental image. The language learning journey interrupted because progress seemed too slow. Each represents not just abandoned progress, but missed opportunities for the satisfaction and motivation that come from acknowledging incremental growth. The stars reveal a painful truth. By valuing only the summit, you've robbed yourself of the joy, satisfaction, and motivation available throughout the climb. The most resilient achievers understand that sustainable progress requires emotional nourishment along the journey, the psychological rewards that come from recognizing and celebrating incremental advancement toward distant goals. Consider how this perfectionist pattern has affected your relationship with progress. Have you noticed how quickly initial enthusiasm fades when results don't immediately approach your idealized vision? How easily you discount substantial improvements that still fall short of perfection? How rarely you pause to acknowledge how far you've come before immediately focusing on the distance yet to travel? These are the emotional consequences of perfectionism's all-or-nothing mentality. The most accomplished Capricorns throughout history understood that sustained achievement requires emotional sustainability. They recognized their perfectionist tendency to discount progress and develop practices to counteract it, deliberately acknowledging milestones, celebrating incremental victories, and finding satisfaction in the journey itself, not just the destination. This isn't about lowering your ultimate standards or settling for mediocrity. It's about developing a more nuanced relationship with progress, recognizing that meaningful advancement deserves acknowledgement even when the final goal remains distant. It's about understanding that motivation thrives on a sense of progress, which perfectionism systematically denies you by discounting everything short of complete achievement. What sustained motivation might you experience if you acknowledged each step forward, rather than focusing exclusively on the distance to your ideal? What satisfaction might enrich your journey if you celebrated progress rather than fixating on imperfection? What resilience might you develop if you derived emotional nourishment from improvement rather than demanding it only from perfection? The cosmic wisdom offered today challenges your perfectionist dismissal of incremental progress. This celestial insight invites you to recognize that by acknowledging and celebrating meaningful steps forward, you don't compromise your standards. You create the emotional sustainability necessary to ultimately reach them. The 12th reason: your obsession with controlling every outcome is blocking the serendipitous connections and unexpected opportunities that often lead to your greatest successes. The universe operates through complex interconnections that no single mind can fully anticipate or control. Yet perfectionism has convinced you that success comes primarily through meticulous planning and tight control, rather than remaining receptive to unexpected developments. This cosmic misunderstanding creates perhaps the most limiting consequence of your perfectionist mindset, systematically closing yourself to the serendipitous connections and unforeseen opportunities that frequently catalyze extraordinary breakthroughs. This pattern reveals itself throughout your Capricorn journey in predictable ways. The rigid adherence to plans, even when unexpected alternatives arise, the dismissal of irrelevant connections or information that doesn't fit your predetermined framework, the resistance to pivoting when circumstances suggest unforeseen possibilities. Each represents not disciplined focus, but perfectionism's restrictive grip on your receptivity to the universe's natural flow. The stars have aligned today to illuminate a fundamental truth. History's most remarkable achievements often emerged not from perfect execution of predetermined plans, but from remaining open to unexpected connections, fortuitous timing, and serendipitous opportunities that no amount of planning could have anticipated. Consider how this perfectionist need for control has limited your receptivity to unexpected paths. Have promising tangents been abandoned because they weren't part of your original plan? Have random connections been overlooked because they didn't align with your predetermined approach? Have spontaneous opportunities been declined because they didn't fit neatly into your carefully structured vision? These are the consequences of perfectionism's excessive attachment to control. The most successful individuals across history understood that achievement requires a delicate balance between directed effort and open receptivity. They recognized their perfectionist tendencies toward excessive control and developed practices to remain open to unexpected developments. They cultivated the ability to hold plans loosely enough to recognize when serendipitous alternatives offered superior paths to their ultimate goals. This isn't about abandoning intentionality or strategic thinking. It's about developing a more sophisticated relationship with control, recognizing when tight management serves progress and when loosening your grip allows for unexpected possibilities that rigid perfectionism would exclude. It's about understanding that some opportunities cannot be planned for, but must be recognized and seized when they unpredictably emerge. What breakthroughs might find you if you held your plans more as flexible frameworks than rigid requirements? What connections might form if you remained open to seemingly irrelevant possibilities that perfectionism would typically filter out? What opportunities might emerge if you cultivated comfort with the productive uncertainty that often precedes unexpected breakthroughs? The cosmic wisdom offered today challenges your perfectionist equation of control with success. This celestial insight invites you to recognize that by loosening your grip on predetermined outcomes, you don't surrender your ambition. You create space for achievements greater than your perfectionism could have envisioned or planned. As we conclude our exploration of perfectionism's hidden costs, remember that recognizing these patterns is the essential first step toward transformation. The perfectionist tendencies that have limited your success are not immutable aspects of your Capricorn nature, but learned responses that can be recalibrated with awareness and intention. The stars have aligned to bring you this message because you stand at a cosmic crossroads. The path of continued perfectionism leads to more of what you've already experienced: limited achievement, unnecessary stress, and unfulfilled potential. The alternative path, embracing excellence without demanding perfection, opens possibilities your perfectionism has kept hidden from view. Capricorn, throughout this cosmic exploration, we've unveiled 12 powerful ways perfectionism has been silently undermining your success. We've seen how your relentless pursuit of flawlessness delays project launches that could already be generating returns. We've uncovered how valuable time spent polishing details could be invested in starting entirely new ventures. We've revealed how fear of criticism keeps your brilliant ideas locked away rather than thriving in the world. We've illuminated how those impossible standards create unnecessary stress that diminishes your legendary Capricorn endurance. We've discovered how refusing to delegate imperfectly places an artificial ceiling on your empire's growth potential. We've shown how reluctance to share unfinished work prevents valuable feedback that could dramatically accelerate your progress. We've exposed how your excessive planning phase has evolved into sophisticated procrastination in disguise. We've demonstrated how your need for perfect conditions causes you to miss strategic opportunities that require decisive action. We've revealed how constant self-criticism steadily undermines the confidence that should rightfully accompany your considerable skills. We've highlighted how fear of making mistakes narrows your willingness to experiment with innovative approaches that could lead to breakthrough results. We've shown how your all-or-nothing mentality prevents you from celebrating meaningful progress that could sustain your motivation. And finally, we've uncovered how your obsession with controlling every outcome blocks the serendipitous connections that often lead to your greatest successes. This cosmic revelation isn't meant to discourage, but to liberate you, ambitious Capricorn. The perfectionism you've mistaken for a strength has been the invisible barrier between you and your extraordinary potential. By recognizing these patterns, you've taken the critical first step toward transformation. The journey ahead isn't about abandoning your high standards. Those are part of your Capricorn birthright. It's about redirecting your natural excellence toward productive achievement, rather than the exhausting pursuit of an illusion. It's about embracing your ambitious nature while releasing the perfectionist tendencies that have kept your true potential locked away. The stars have aligned to bring you this message because you stand at a pivotal moment in your cosmic journey. The choices you make now, to continue in perfectionism's grip or to embrace excellence without demanding perfection, will shape not just your success, but your experience of the path itself. If this message has resonated with your Capricorn soul, we invite you to take 3 immediate actions. First, subscribe to the Secret of the Zodiac channel to continue receiving cosmic wisdom tailored specifically to your astrological journey. Our dedicated team works tirelessly to translate celestial insights into practical guidance for each sign. Second, share your personal experience with perfectionism in the comments below. Which of these 12 patterns resonated most powerfully with you? What step will you take this week to break free from perfectionism's grip? Your vulnerability not only accelerates your own growth, but serves as a guiding light for fellow Capricorns facing similar challenges. Third, if you found value in today's cosmic revelation, please consider supporting our channel through the Super Thanks feature. Your contribution directly funds the substantial costs of creating daily astrological guidance. Each Super Thanks allows us to deepen our research, enhance our production quality, and expand our celestial insights to reach more seekers on their astrological journeys. Your support doesn't just help maintain our current offerings, it enables us to develop new content formats, explore more nuanced astrological interpretations, and create the specialized guidance that ambitious Capricorns like you are seeking. The financial reality of creating daily Zodiac content is challenging, and your Super Thanks contribution makes a tangible difference in our ability to continue serving the astrological community. Before you leave, take a moment to explore our other videos tailored specifically for Capricorn's success journey. From career strategies aligned with your cosmic blueprint to relationship insights that honor your earth sign nature, our channel offers comprehensive guidance for every aspect of your Capricorn path. Remember, ambitious mountain goat, you were born for extraordinary heights. By releasing perfectionism's grip, you don't lower your summit, you simply clear the path for a more direct ascent. The stars will continue guiding your journey, and we at Secret of the Zodiac are honored to translate their wisdom for your success.